Hello there, and welcome. Tonight I want to take you somewhere far away from everything you know, somewhere quiet and vast and filled with the kind of silence that wraps around you like the softest blanket you've ever felt. I want to take you on a journey, not through the busy streets of your waking life, not through the schedules and the deadlines and the endless noise of the ordinary day, but through something much older and much stranger and infinitely more peaceful. I want to take you into the cosmos itself, into the deep and endless night that stretches above your head right now, whether you can see it or not, whether clouds cover the stars or city lights wash them away. The universe is still there, waiting, patient as it has always been. And tonight, we're going to drift into its mysteries together. So settle in wherever you are. Perhaps you're lying in bed, the covers pulled up to your chin, the room dark except for the faint glow of whatever device carries my voice to you. Perhaps you're on a couch, or in a chair, or somewhere else entirely, somewhere I cannot imagine, but where you feel safe and comfortable and ready to let go of the day. Wherever you are, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad we can share this time together, this quiet exploration of something that has puzzled humanity for as long as we have looked up at the night sky and wondered what all those distant lights might mean. Before we begin our journey in earnest, I am curious about you, about where you are in this wide world of ours as you listen to these words. What time is it there? In your corner of the planet, is it late at night, the stars perhaps visible through your window if you were to look? Is it the early hours of the morning, that strange and liminal time when the world feels most quiet and most ready for contemplation? Or perhaps it is some other hour entirely, a time when you have chosen to step away from the demands of wakefulness and give yourself permission to rest and to wonder. Whatever the hour, whatever the place, you are part of something larger tonight, connected to others who are also listening, also drifting, also letting the mysteries of the cosmos wash over them like gentle waves on a peaceful shore. If you are enjoying this journey, if these words are helping you find that quiet space inside yourself, where wonder lives, I would be so grateful if you might take a moment, whenever it feels right, to let others know about this experience. A simple gesture, a like, a subscription, a sharing with someone who might also benefit from these peaceful explorations of the universe. These small acts help more people find their way to this calm space, this sanctuary of cosmic contemplation. But there is no pressure, no urgency, only an invitation extended with warmth and gratitude. We are all travelers here, all seekers of peace and understanding, and any way you choose to engage with this journey is exactly right. Now, let us begin. Let us turn our attention to something that seems simple at first, something you have probably heard many times without giving it much thought. A phrase, a measurement, a way of describing the vast distances between the stars. You have heard it in science classes and documentaries, in conversations about space, and in the casual remarks of anyone who has ever looked up at the night sky and tried to put into words just how far away everything really is. The phrase is this: a light year. A light year. Say it to yourself. Let the words form in your mind. Feel how familiar they are, and yet how strange they become when you really consider them. A light year sounds so clean, so precise, so perfectly designed to help us understand the incomprehensible distances of space. It sounds like a gift from the scientific community, a tool to help our limited human minds grasp the truly ungraspable vastness of the universe. And perhaps it is. Perhaps the light year is exactly what it appears to be, a helpful measurement, a way of translating the impossible into the merely difficult to imagine. But what if it is something else entirely? What if the light year, this seemingly innocent phrase, is actually a kind of trap? Not a malicious trap, not something designed to harm or deceive in any cruel way, but a gentle trap, a soft and quiet snare that catches our minds and keeps them from wandering too far into territories they were never meant to explore. What if the light year is a comfortable illusion, a word that makes us feel like we understand vast distances when in truth we cannot even begin to comprehend them? What if our brains, clever and adaptive as they are, have been fooled by language itself, lulled into a false sense of cosmic understanding while the true nature of space remains forever beyond our grasp? It is a question that might seem strange at first, perhaps even a little silly. After all, the light year is just a measurement, just a way of saying how far light travels in one Earth year. There is nothing mysterious about that, nothing hidden or deceptive. Scientists use it all the time, and it serves its purpose well. Why would anyone suggest that such a straightforward concept might be anything other than what it appears to be? And yet, the more you think about it, the more you let the question settle into your mind like sediment drifting slowly to the bottom of a still pond, the more you might begin to sense that something is indeed peculiar about this phrase. Think about it. The light year takes two concepts that we believe we understand, light and years, and combines them into something that sounds comprehensible but might actually be anything but. Light is something we experience every day, the warmth of the sun, the glow of a lamp, the flicker of a candle. Years are the cycles of our lives, the birthdays and anniversaries, the seasons turning and returning. We know light, we know years, and so when someone says light year, our brains nod along, satisfied that they have grasped the meaning, that they have successfully filed away this piece of cosmic information in the appropriate mental folder. But have they really? Have our brains truly understood what a light year means, or have they simply recognized familiar words and assumed understanding where none exists? This is the question we will explore tonight, not with urgency or alarm, but with gentle curiosity, with the slow and peaceful contemplation that the universe itself seems to invite whenever we turn our attention to its mysteries. Imagine, if you will, a beam of light, not just any light, but the fastest thing in all of existence, the speed limit of the cosmos, the absolute maximum velocity at which anything can travel through the fabric of space and time. This light, this impossibly swift messenger, races through the void at a speed that defies human intuition. In just 1 second, a single heartbeat of time, light travels nearly 300,000 kilometers. In that same second, you might blink or take a breath, or feel your heart pulse once in your chest. And in that infinitesimal moment, light has already crossed a distance so vast that it would take you years to drive it in a car, assuming you could drive through space at all. Now stretch that second out. Imagine light traveling not for 1 heartbeat, but for an hour. In an hour, light crosses more than 1 billion kilometers, a distance so immense that it already strains the limits of meaningful comprehension. Now imagine a day of travel, 24 hours of light racing through the darkness, now a week, now a month, now an entire year, 365 days of continuous motion at the fastest speed the universe allows. By the end of that year, light has traveled approximately 9.46 trillion kilometers. Trillion. A word we use with such casual ease, as if we understand what it means, as if our brains can actually picture 1 trillion of anything. But can they? Can your mind truly hold 1 trillion kilometers, truly feel the weight and vastness of such a distance? Or does it simply accept the number, file it away as very far and move on to more manageable thoughts? This is where the trap begins to reveal itself, where the gentle snare of language starts to become visible in the dim light of contemplation. When we hear the term light year, we hear 2 familiar words and feel a sense of understanding. But that understanding is an illusion, a comfortable fiction that our brains create to protect us from the vertigo of true cosmic scale. The light year is not really helping us understand distance. It is helping us not to panic, not to feel the existential disorientation that might arise if we truly grasped how far away everything in the night sky really is. And perhaps this is not such a bad thing. Perhaps this is exactly what our brains should do, what evolution has designed them to do over millions of years of survival and adaptation. Our ancestors did not need to understand the distances to stars. They needed to find food, avoid predators, navigate the immediate landscape of their lives. A brain that became lost in contemplation of cosmic vastness would have been a liability, a distraction from the urgent business of staying alive. And so, our minds developed shortcuts, mental tricks that allow us to function in a world filled with things too large and too small for our senses to directly perceive. The light year is one of these shortcuts, a linguistic tool that compresses the incomprehensible into the merely impressive. When we hear that the nearest star beyond our sun is about 4 light years away, we nod and think, that is quite far. But we do not truly feel the distance. We do not experience the gut-wrenching disorientation that would come from actually understanding that between us and that nearest star lies a gulf so vast that it defies meaningful description. And this is the trap. Not a trap set by anyone with malicious intent, but a trap that emerges from the very structure of human cognition, from the way our brains use language to create manageable models of an unmanageable universe. The light year makes us feel like we understand cosmic distances when in truth we're simply being soothed by familiar words, lulled into a comfortable ignorance that allows us to sleep peacefully beneath a sky filled with impossibly distant suns. But tonight, we are going to gently approach the edges of this trap. We are not going to try to escape it entirely, because perhaps that is neither possible nor desirable, but we are going to become aware of it, to notice how our minds respond to cosmic scales, to feel the gentle tug of language trying to keep us safe from the vertigo of the infinite. And in this awareness we might find a different kind of peace, not the peace of ignorance, but the peace of acceptance, the calm that comes from knowing our limitations and finding them not frightening, but somehow beautiful. For there is beauty in the trap, is there not? There is something almost tender about the way our minds protect us from overwhelming truths, the way language wraps around incomprehensible concepts and makes them feel familiar and safe. The light year is a gift in its own way, a word that allows us to talk about the cosmos without being crushed by its immensity. It is a bridge between our small human experience and the vast indifferent universe, a bridge made of syllables and sounds that somehow bears the weight of unimaginable distances. Think of the people who first coined this term, the astronomers and mathematicians who needed a way to communicate about scales their own minds could barely fathom. They were not trying to deceive anyone. They were trying to give humanity a tool, a conceptual handle to grip as we reach out into the darkness of space. And in that reaching, in that attempt to measure and understand, there is something heroic and touching and deeply human. We are creatures of a limited perception, you and I. Our eyes see only a tiny sliver of the electromagnetic spectrum. Our ears hear only a narrow range of frequencies. Our sense of time is constrained by the brevity of our lives, our sense of space by the smallness of our bodies. And yet, with these limited tools, we have managed to discover that the universe extends far beyond what we can see, that light travels at a particular speed, that the stars in the night sky are suns like our own but unimaginably far away. We have done all this with brains that evolved to track prey across savannas and recognize faces in the firelight. It is remarkable, really, when you think about it. It is a testament to the power and adaptability of human cognition that we can discuss light years at all. And yet, and this is the gentle paradox at the heart of our journey tonight, in our very success at measuring the cosmos, we may have constructed a comfortable prison for our understanding. The light year gives us numbers, gives us a sense of precision and scientific rigor, but it does not give us true comprehension. It cannot make our hearts beat faster with the reality of cosmic distance, the way they beat faster when we see a loved one after a long absence. It cannot make our stomachs drop with the vertigo of the void the way they drop when we lean over a high railing. The light year is abstract, intellectual, removed from the body and its instinctive responses. This is what I mean by a trap for the brain, not a prison of the heart, not a cage for the soul, but a specific kind of cognitive containment that keeps our understanding at a safe distance from our felt experience. We can know that the Andromeda Galaxy is 2.5 million light-years away, and this knowledge can sit comfortably in our minds like a fact about any other distant thing. But we cannot feel 2.5 million light-years. We cannot let that distance move through our bodies the way music moves through us, or the way grief moves through us, or the way love moves through us. And so the trap is this. The light year makes us feel smart about the cosmos while keeping us emotionally insulated from its true nature. It is a kind of cosmic anesthesia, numbing us to the radical strangeness of our situation, which is that we are small warm creatures clinging to a rocky planet in an infinite sea of mostly nothing, separated from the nearest points of light by distances that our minds can name but never truly comprehend. Is this a bad thing? I do not think so. I think it is simply a thing, a fact about how human cognition works, neither good nor bad but simply real. Our minds protect us because they love us, in their own mechanical way. They want us to function, to survive, to find meaning and purpose in our daily lives without being paralyzed by the cosmic context in which those lives unfold. The light year is a tool of this protection, a word that says, here you can understand this, even though the this in question remains forever beyond the horizon of true understanding. But awareness of the trap changes something. When we know that our sense of comprehension is an illusion, when we recognize the light year not just as a measurement, but as a cognitive coping mechanism, we can hold it more lightly. We can appreciate the cosmos with fresh eyes, or at least fresher eyes that know they are not seeing everything, eyes that are humble about their own limitations. And in this humility, there is peace. There is the peace of not having to understand everything, of not having to conquer the universe with our minds. There is the peace of being small and knowing it, and finding that smallness not frightening, but somehow liberating. This is what I want for you tonight, dear listener. Not anxiety about the nature of cosmic distances, not a frenetic need to escape some imagined intellectual prison, but simply awareness. Awareness that the universe is stranger and more vast than we can comprehend. Awareness that our words, however beautiful and precise, are inadequate to the reality they attempt to describe. An awareness that this is okay, more than okay, that it is the natural condition of being a conscious creature in a universe too large for any consciousness to fully contain. So as you lie there, wherever you are, let yourself feel the gentle comfort of your own limitations. Let yourself appreciate the light year for what it is. A beautiful and useful fiction, a word that helps us talk about the untalkable, a bridge built of human ingenuity over an abyss of unknowing. And let yourself relax into the mystery, the deep and peaceful mystery of a cosmos that remains, despite all our efforts, fundamentally beyond us. The stars outside your window, or beyond the ceiling above your head, or wherever they hang in the vastness of this particular night, those stars are not truly known to you. The light that left them years or centuries or millennia ago, depending on which star you might choose to contemplate, that light has travelled through voids so empty that the very concept of emptiness seems inadequate to describe them, and it has arrived here, at this moment, at this planet, at this precise location where you happen to exist. And it has entered your eye and become something you can see. This is already miraculous. This is already beyond any normal understanding. And the light year, for all its usefulness, cannot capture this miracle. It can only gesture toward it, wave its hands in the general direction of something immense and strange. Perhaps you are beginning to feel a little drowsy now, a little further from the sharp alertness of waking life, and a little closer to the soft edges of sleep. This is good. This is exactly as it should be. We are not in a hurry here. We are not racing toward any conclusion or trying to solve any puzzle before time runs out. We are simply drifting together through ideas and images, letting the cosmos wash over us like gentle water, feeling the weight of our bodies settle deeper into whatever surface supports us. And as you drift, consider this: the very fact that you can wonder about light years, that you can question whether they are traps or tools or something else entirely, this fact itself is a kind of miracle. You are matter that has become aware of itself, atoms arranged in patterns complex enough to ask questions about the nature of atoms. You are the universe contemplating its own vastness, the cosmos looking back at itself through eyes that evolved on a small blue planet circling an ordinary yellow star. Whatever the light year is, whatever traps or freedoms our language creates, you are here to notice them. You are here to wonder, and that is extraordinary. The night outside, or the day if you're in a different part of the world, the great spinning globe of Earth continues its endless journey through space, carrying you along without any effort on your part. You're moving right now even as you lie still. You're rotating with the surface of the planet, orbiting the sun, spiraling with the Milky Way, drifting with the local group of galaxies through the expanding cosmos. All of this motion, all of this vast cosmic choreography proceeds without your attention or consent, and yet here you are, somehow aware of it, somehow able to think about it and wonder at it. The light year measures these motions in its own way. It tells us that the stars are not static points, but distant suns with their own planets and moons, their own histories and futures. It tells us that the light we see tonight left its source at some specific moment in the past and has been travelling ever since, a patient messenger crossing unimaginable emptiness. And when that light finally reaches us, when it ends its long journey by falling on our retinas and sending signals to our brains, we might look up and say, that star is 8 light years away, as if we understood what that means. But understanding is a slippery thing, is it not? There are many kinds of understanding, many layers and depths of comprehension. There is the understanding of words, the recognition that a phrase is grammatically correct and semantically meaningful. There is the understanding of concepts, the ability to work with ideas and combine them in new ways. There is the understanding of experience, the felt knowledge that comes from living through something rather than merely thinking about it. And there is perhaps another kind of understanding, deeper still, an understanding that arises when the mind becomes quiet and the boundaries between self and world begin to dissolve. The light year, I suspect, lives mostly in the first two kinds of understanding. We understand it as a phrase, as a concept, as a unit of measurement that scientists use to describe cosmic distances. But the experiential understanding, the felt knowledge of what a light year truly means, this remains elusive. And the deepest understanding, the one that might arise in moments of profound stillness or unexpected insight, this kind of understanding does not need the light year at all. It does not need any words. It simply is, a direct apprehension of the infinite that language can point toward but never capture. Perhaps tonight, as you drift towards sleep, you might touch the edges of this deeper understanding. Not through effort, not through concentration, but through release, through the gentle letting go that sleep requires of us. When the thinking mind quiets down and the boundaries of self become soft and porous, something else can emerge. Some awareness that is not caught in the trap of words, not confined by the limitations of language. Some awareness that knows the vastness of the cosmos not as a fact, but as a presence, not as information, but as direct experience. I'm not promising anything, of course. Sleep is unpredictable, and mystical experiences are not something we can order up like items from a menu. But the conditions we are creating here, the slow contemplation of cosmic mysteries, the gentle drift toward unconsciousness, the awareness of our own cognitive limitations, these conditions are at least friendly to the possibility of deeper insight. And even if no great realization comes, even if you simply fall asleep and dream of ordinary things, there is value in what we are doing here. There is value in wondering, in questioning, in holding our understanding lightly and remaining open to what we do not know. The light year is a trap for the brain, perhaps. But it is also a doorway, if we let it be. A doorway into questions that have no easy answers. A doorway into the humbling recognition of our own limits. A doorway into the vast and peaceful mystery of a universe that contains us, but is not contained by us. Tonight, we are standing in that doorway together, looking out at the darkness, feeling the cool breeze of the infinite on our faces, and it is good. It is peaceful. It is exactly where we are meant to be. So let your eyes grow heavy, let your thoughts become soft and diffuse, let the questions we have raised float in your mind like leaves on still water, not demanding answers, not requiring any action, just present, just there, just part of the gentle landscape of this moment. The light year and its mysteries will wait for us. The cosmos and its secrets will still be there when we wake. For now, there is only this. Your body relaxing, your mind drifting, your awareness opening to something larger than itself. The trap is real, but so is the freedom. The limitation is real, but so is the wonder. Both can be true at once. Both can exist together in the same mind, the same heart, the same moment of contemplation. This is the paradox we live with as conscious beings in an incomprehensible universe. And rather than struggling against it, rather than trying to force resolution, we can simply rest in it. We can let the paradox be. We can allow the mystery to remain mysterious. And this, perhaps, is the greatest gift the light year has to offer us. Not understanding, not comprehension, not the satisfaction of finally grasping what we have always struggled to grasp, but something gentler and more profound. The gift of knowing that we are part of something too large to know. The gift of smallness, the gift of humility, the gift of awe. You are that gift, receiving and being received, wondering and being wondered at, falling asleep under stars that have been shining for millions of years and will continue to shine long after every question you have ever asked has dissolved into the cosmic silence. The light year cannot measure what you are. No unit of distance, no word or phrase or clever turn of speech can capture the strange miracle of your existence. But the light year can point towards something larger, something that includes you but exceeds you, something that is both your home and your mystery. Rest now, dear traveller. Rest in the trap that is also a freedom. Rest in the words that point beyond themselves. Rest in the gentle darkness of a universe that holds you without needing to be held by you. The journey is just beginning, and there is so much more to explore, but there is no hurry. The stars will wait. The light years will wait. Everything that matters will still be there when you're ready to continue. For now, just breathe. Just let go. Just drift into the soft embrace of sleep, knowing that you are part of something beautiful and strange, something that exceeds all measurement, something that the light year tries to capture but can only, ever, gesture toward. The night is deep and filled with quiet light. The cosmos is vast and patient and indifferent and somehow, despite all that, strangely kind. And you are here, alive, aware, wondering. That is enough. That has always been enough. That will always be enough. Sleep now, if you can, and if not, simply rest. We will continue our journey together through the chapters that follow, through the ideas and images and contemplations that await. But for this moment, there is only this, the gentle trap of words, the vast freedom of the cosmos, and you suspended between them, exactly where you belong. The light year waits, patient as starlight, patient as the darkness between stars, and we wait with it together, drifting toward whatever understanding might come or might not come, or might come in forms we cannot predict. This is the beginning. This is the invitation. This is the gentle first step into a mystery that has no bottom and no end. Welcome. Welcome to the journey. Welcome to the night. Now we go deeper. Now we ask more questions. Now we let the light year reveal its secrets, if it has any secrets to reveal. And if not, if the mystery remains a mystery, that is okay too. That is perhaps the deepest teaching of all. Breathe, relax, let go. The cosmos is waiting for you, and it has all the time in the universe. Because time, like distance, like light years, like all the words we use to describe the indescribable, is also perhaps a kind of trap. A beautiful, necessary, generous trap that allows us to experience the eternal as if it were flowing, as if it were moving, as if it were carrying us somewhere. But that is a question for another moment. For now there is only this breath, only this body, only this awareness floating in the dark, only this gentle trap of words holding you safe in the palm of the infinite. Sleep now, or simply rest. Either way, you're exactly where you need to be, and the light years are singing you to sleep in their silent, patient, ancient way. Listen, can you hear them? Perhaps not with your ears, perhaps not with any organ of sense you can name, but somewhere deeper, somewhere that words have not yet reached, somewhere that the trap has not yet closed around. Something in you knows the song of the cosmos. Something in you has always known it. And tonight, as you drift towards sleep, that knowing becomes a little more available, a little more present, a little more like the truth it has always been. This is the gift of contemplation. This is the gift of wonder. This is the gift of letting go. Take it. It is yours. It has always been yours. And the light years, those beautiful, impossible, incomprehensible measurements of cosmic distance, they are part of the gift too. Not as traps, not as prisons, not as limitations, but as invitations. Invitations to wonder. Invitations to humility. Invitations to the kind of peace that passes understanding. This is where we begin. This is where we always begin. At the edge of what we know, looking out into what we cannot know, feeling the vastness that holds us without needing to be held. Welcome to the journey. Welcome to the mystery. Welcome to the night. Now let the words fade, let the thoughts dissolve, let the gentle darkness carry you wherever it wants to carry you. You are safe. You are held. You are part of something infinite and strange and beautiful. And the light years are not traps anymore if they ever were. They are bridges. They are invitations. They are doorways into wonder. Walk through them, if you can, or simply rest at their threshold. Either way, you are home. Either way, you have always been home. This is the secret the light year was trying to tell you all along, not a distance, not a measurement, not a trap for the brain, but a reminder. A gentle, patient, eternal reminder that you're part of everything, that you have always been part of everything, and that everything, in its vast and silent way, is part of you. Rest now. Dream now. Let the cosmos hold you in its ancient arms. The journey continues, but you can rest. You have done enough. You have wondered enough. You have been aware enough. Now it is time to sleep, and the stars will watch over you as they have always watched, as they will always watch, their light traveling light years to reach you, patient messengers of a universe that somehow, impossibly, against all odds, knows that you are here. Sleep well, dear traveller, sleep well, and we will continue when you are ready into the deeper mysteries that await. But for now, just this, just rest, just peace, just the gentle, infinite, unnameable presence of the cosmos singing you to sleep. And so we continue, drifting further from the shores of wakefulness, deeper into the gentle currents of cosmic contemplation. You're still here with me, I hope. Still breathing softly, still allowing your body to grow heavier against whatever surface supports you. The first chapter of our journey has set the stage, planted the seeds of wonder, and now we can begin to explore the history and nature of this peculiar phrase that has captured our attention tonight. The light year, a word we think we know, a term we have heard so many times that it feels as familiar as any common noun, as unremarkable as table or window or star. But is it? Is it truly as familiar as it seems? Or is there something strange hiding beneath its surface? Something that rewards a closer, slower, more contemplative examination? Let us go back through the layers of time, back to the moment when this term first entered human language. Let us try to imagine a world before the light year existed. A world where distances to the stars were simply unknown, simply beyond the reach of measurement or description. For most of human history, this was the world we lived in. The stars were points of light in the night sky, beautiful and mysterious, perhaps inhabited by gods or ancestors or spirits, but certainly not calculable, certainly not measurable, certainly not reducible to any kind of number or unit. They were simply there, part of the fabric of existence, part of the backdrop against which human dramas unfolded. And then something changed. Slowly, over centuries, the tools of astronomy became more sophisticated. Telescopes were invented and improved. Mathematics advanced to the point where it could describe the motions of heavenly bodies with increasing precision, and gradually, tentatively, astronomers began to realize that the stars were not just points of light but actual objects, suns like our own, burning in the depths of space at distances that were almost beyond imagining. This realization was both exhilarating and terrifying. Exhilarating because it revealed a universe far larger and more complex than anyone had dreamed. Terrifying because it made humanity feel suddenly very small and very alone on our tiny planet. How do you measure something that vast? How do you communicate about distances so immense that they strain the very concepts of distance and measurement? The units we use for earthly purposes, meters and kilometers and miles, become absurd when applied to cosmic scales. To say that the nearest star is about 40 trillion kilometers away is technically accurate, but it is also meaningless in any practical sense. The number is too large. It does not connect to anything in human experience. It is just a string of digits, impressive in its length, but empty of real significance. And so the light year was born. Not all at once, not in a single moment of invention, but gradually through the collective efforts of many astronomers and scientists who were groping for a way to talk about the untalkable. The idea was simple, elegant even in its way. Instead of using kilometers or any other earthly unit, use light itself as your measuring stick. Describe cosmic distances in terms of how far light travels in a certain amount of time. Since light has a known and constant speed, approximately 299,792 kilometers per second, this provides a stable and universal standard. And since time is something humans understand intuitively, or at least believe they understand, attaching a time word to the measurement might make it feel more accessible. The term light year appears to have entered scientific usage in the middle of the 19th century, though its exact origin is somewhat murky. Different sources attribute it to different astronomers, and it is possible that the idea arose independently in multiple places at roughly the same time. This is often how scientific concepts emerge, not from a single genius moment, but from the collective groping of many minds toward a solution to a shared problem. The problem, in this case, was communication. How do you talk about things that are too big to talk about? How do you share your discoveries with colleagues and with the public when the very scale of those discoveries exceeds human comprehension? The light year was the answer, or at least one answer. It took two familiar concepts, light and years, and combined them into something new. Light, that fundamental phenomenon that we experience every time we open our eyes, that illuminates our days and reveals the world to us. Years, those cycles of seasons and birthdays and anniversaries that structure our lives and give us a sense of the passage of time. By putting these two familiar words together, the light year seemed to bridge the gap between human experience and cosmic reality. It seemed to make the incomprehensible a little more comprehensible, to domesticate the wild vastness of space into something that could be discussed in scientific papers and popular books. But did it succeed? Did the light year truly make cosmic distances more understandable, or did it merely create an illusion of understanding? This is the question that gently haunts our contemplation tonight, the question that reveals the potential trap hidden within this seemingly helpful term. Consider how the brain responds to familiar words. When we hear a word we recognize, a complex cascade of neural activity occurs. Memory centers light up, retrieving associations and meanings we have built up over a lifetime. Emotional centers may respond as well, depending on the connotations the word carries for us. And crucially, when a word feels familiar, it creates a sense of cognitive ease. We feel that we understand what is being said. We nod along, satisfied, and move on to the next piece of information. This is efficient. It allows us to process language quickly, without getting bogged down in endless analysis of every word we encounter. But it can also be a trap, because sometimes a word that feels familiar is actually pointing towards something deeply unfamiliar, something that our quick and efficient cognition glosses over in its rush to create meaning. The light year is such a word. When we hear it, we recognize the components. Light, yes. Year, yes. Our brains combine these familiar elements and generate a sense of understanding. We feel that we know what a light year is, but do we? Do we really? Let us slow down. Let us resist the brain's tendency to move quickly past familiar words. Let us sit with the term light year and really try to feel what it is pointing toward. A light year is the distance that light travels in 1 year. We have already noted that this is approximately 9.46 trillion kilometers. But what does that actually mean? What does it feel like to travel that far? There is no way to answer this question from experience, because no human has ever traveled anything close to a light year. Our most distant spacecraft, Voyager 1, has been traveling since 1977 and has covered about 23 billion kilometers, which sounds impressive until you realize that this is roughly 0.254% of a single light year. At its current speed, Voyager 1 would take about 17,000 years to travel 1 light year. 17,000 years. The entire span of human civilization, from the earliest cities to the present day, is only about 5,000 or 6,000 years. So traveling a single light year would take about 3 times longer than all of recorded human history. Feel into that for a moment. Let it settle in your body, not just your mind. 1 light year is a distance so vast that even our fastest spacecraft would need 3 times the length of human civilization to cross it, and the nearest star beyond our sun is more than 4 light years away. And the Milky Way galaxy is about 100,000 light years across, and the nearest major galaxy, Andromeda, is about 2.5 million light years distant. The numbers quickly become so large that they lose all meaning. They are just words, just digits, just placeholders for something that cannot be truly grasped. And yet the term light year makes us feel like we understand. That is its genius, and that is its trap. By using familiar words, by anchoring cosmic distances to something as relatable as time, the light year creates an illusion of comprehension. We hear the phrase and we nod and we move on, never realizing that the thing we think we understand is actually beyond understanding, a void so vast that our minds can only gesture toward it without ever truly reaching it. This is what I mean when I say the light year might be a trap for the brain. It is not a malicious trap. It was not designed to deceive, but it functions as a kind of cognitive camouflage, hiding the true strangeness of cosmic scale behind a mask of familiar words. And in doing so, it allows us to talk about the universe without being crushed by its immensity. It lets us sleep at night beneath a sky full of stars without feeling the vertigo of true understanding. It keeps us sane. But tonight, in this quiet space of contemplation, we can afford to peek behind the mask. We can afford to notice the trap and choose for a moment not to be caught by it. Not because the trap is bad, but because awareness is valuable. Because knowing the limits of our understanding is itself a form of wisdom. Because the universe deserves our wonder, our genuine awe, not just our nod of false comprehension. Think about how language shapes thought. This is a well-studied phenomenon in linguistics and cognitive science. The words we have available to us influence what we can think, what we notice, what we remember. Languages that have more words for different types of snow make their speakers better at distinguishing between those types. Languages that structure time differently affect how their speakers remember the past and anticipate the future. Language is not just a tool for expressing thoughts that exist independently of it. Language shapes thought, constrains it, enables it, colors it in subtle ways. The light year is part of the language we use to think about the cosmos, and as such, it shapes our cosmic thinking. By making vast distances speakable, by giving us a term that we can use in sentences and equations and casual conversations, it makes those distances feel more manageable than they actually are. It domesticates the wild, it tames the infinite, and in doing so, it subtly distorts our sense of what the universe is actually like. Imagine for a moment a language that had no word for light year, a language where cosmic distances could only be expressed in awkward circumlocutions, where every time you wanted to talk about how far away a star was, you had to stumble through some cumbersome phrase that made it clear just how extraordinary and incomprehensible that distance really is. Such a language would make cosmic thinking harder in some ways. But it might also make it more honest. It might preserve a sense of wonder that the convenient term light year tends to erode. I am not suggesting that we abandon the light year. It is a useful term, an important part of the scientific vocabulary, a tool that has enabled countless discoveries and communications about the cosmos. But I'm suggesting that we hold it lightly, that we remember its limitations, that we notice the ways it shapes our thinking and occasionally resist that shaping. The light year is not reality. It is a representation of reality, a symbol, a linguistic convenience. And like all representations, it captures some aspects of what it represents while obscuring others. The aspects it captures are quantitative. The light year tells us something about distances in terms of numbers, in terms of how far light travels in a given time. This is useful for calculations, for comparisons, for the kind of precise thinking that science requires. But the aspects it obscures are qualitative. It does not tell us what it is like to be separated by such distances. It does not convey the emotional or experiential dimension of cosmic scale. It gives us facts without feelings, data without depth, and perhaps this is okay. Perhaps science is supposed to focus on the quantitative, leaving the qualitative to art and poetry and personal contemplation. Perhaps the light year is doing exactly what it is supposed to do, and asking it to do more is asking too much. But tonight, we are not doing science. Tonight, we are doing something more personal, more intimate, more focused on the felt experience of being a small conscious creature in a vast unconscious universe. And for this purpose, the light year is insufficient. It is a starting point, not an ending point. It is a doorway, not a destination. So let us walk through the doorway. Let us use the light year as an invitation to wonder, not as a substitute for wondering. Let us hear the term and immediately ask ourselves, what is this really pointing toward? What is the actual reality that this convenient phrase is trying to capture? And can I, even for a moment, touch that reality directly, without the mediation of language? This is difficult, perhaps impossible. Language is so woven into our thinking that trying to think without it is like trying to see without eyes or hear without ears. But we can at least become aware of the language we're using, aware of how it shapes and constrains our thoughts. And this awareness, this metacognitive noticing, is itself a kind of freedom. It does not liberate us entirely from the trap of words, but it loosens the trap's grip, creates a little more space in which genuine wonder can arise. The light year. Say it again, slowly, feeling each syllable, light, year. Notice how your mind responds. Notice the sense of familiarity, the feeling of understanding, and then notice, behind that feeling, the vast unknown that the familiar words are hiding. Notice the trap. And in noticing it, find a little bit of freedom from it. The universe is more strange than any word can capture. The distances between stars are more vast than any measurement can convey. And you, lying there in the darkness, contemplating these mysteries, are more complex and more wonderful than any description can express. You and the universe are both beyond words, and yet here we are, using words, doing our best to point toward what cannot be fully said, trusting that somewhere in the gaps between syllables something true might be glimpsed. This is the nature of all language about ultimate things. It is always inadequate. It is always pointing beyond itself. It is always inviting us to look not at the finger, but at the moon the finger indicates. The light year is a finger pointing at the cosmos, and tonight we are trying to look past the finger, to see the moon itself, to feel the actual vastness that the word can only indicate but never contain. So rest now, rest in this awareness. Let the history of the light year fade into the background, a gentle context for deeper contemplation. We have traced its origins, noted its emergence from the collective human effort to measure the unmeasurable. We have seen how it uses familiar words to create an illusion of comprehension. And we have begun to notice the trap, the gentle snare that catches our minds and keeps them from fully feeling the strangeness of cosmic scale. In the chapters that follow, we will explore this further. We will look at how the brain creates shortcuts and illusions to manage overwhelming information. We will try to truly feel what a light year means, not just intellectually, but experientially. We will ask whether we were ever meant to understand such things, and what it might mean that we try anyway. But for now, let this be enough. Let the questions rest. Let the mystery be mysterious. You are part of this mystery, remember? You are not just an observer of the cosmos, but an expression of it. The atoms in your body were forged in the hearts of stars, scattered by supernovae, gathered by gravity into the planet that became your home. You're stardust contemplating stardust. You're the universe wondering at itself. And the light year, that convenient fiction, that beautiful trap, is part of how you try to make sense of your own cosmic nature. Hold it lightly, use it gently. And never forget that behind the word, behind the measurement, behind the illusion of understanding, lies something infinite and unspeakable, something that words can only ever point toward without capturing. That something is what we are really interested in tonight. Not the light year itself, but what lies beyond it. Not the trap, but the freedom that awareness of the trap can bring. Not the word, but the wordless reality that the word is trying and failing to express. Breathe. Relax. Let your eyes grow heavier, your thoughts softer, your awareness more diffuse. The light year is just a word. The cosmos is beyond words. And you are somewhere in between, a bridge between language and reality. A conscious point where the universe becomes aware of itself. Rest in that. Rest in the mystery. Rest in the gentle, unanswerable question of what it all means. The night is deep. The stars are patient. The light years are singing their silent song. And you are here, listening, drifting, falling slowly towards sleep and towards something that sleep only hints at. Something that words only gesture toward. Something that is always here, always now, always waiting for you to notice. Find it if you can, or simply rest in the looking. Either way, you're exactly where you need to be. The word we think we know is not really known at all. It is a mystery dressed in familiar clothes, a cosmos hidden behind a comfortable mask. And tonight, we are gently, carefully, lovingly lifting the mask, just enough to glimpse what lies beneath. What do you see? What do you feel? What is there in the space between the word and the reality it represents? Perhaps nothing you can name. Perhaps nothing you should try to name. Perhaps just a sense of vastness, a feeling of awe, a quiet recognition that you are part of something far larger than yourself. That is enough. That is more than enough. That is the beginning of wisdom. Sleep now, if you are ready, or continue to float in this space of wondering. The light year will wait. The cosmos will wait. Everything that matters is patient, so patient, always willing to meet you wherever you are, whenever you are ready. You are ready now, or you're not, and either way is fine. The journey continues, the mystery deepens, the trap reveals itself as a doorway, and the doorway opens onto the infinite. Walk through, or rest at the threshold. Either way you are home, Either way, you have always been home. The light year cannot tell you this, but something deeper can. Something that does not need words. Something that is present in the silence between thoughts, in the darkness between stars, in the pause between breaths. Something that is always here, always waiting, always welcoming you home. Rest now. Dream now. Let the cosmos hold you in its ancient, patient, infinite arms. And when you wake, if you remember anything from this journey, let it be this. The words we think we know are not really known at all. The measurements we use to tame the cosmos cannot really tame it. And the traps our brains construct to protect us from the infinite are also doorways into the infinite, if only we have eyes to see. May you have eyes to see. May you have hearts to wonder. May you drift peacefully through the night, carried by currents you cannot understand toward destinations you cannot imagine. The light year is just the beginning. The journey has only just begun, and you, dear traveller, are exactly where you need to be. Sleep now, sleep well, and may your dreams be filled with stars. The word we think we know is becoming slowly a word we truly know, or perhaps not know, but appreciate. Not understand, but love. Not grasp, but release. Release into the mystery. Release into the vastness. Release into the peace that comes from knowing we are part of something far larger than ourselves. This is the gift the light year offers, if we are willing to receive it. Not understanding, but humility. Not knowledge, but wonder. Not answers, but better questions. Receive it now. Let it settle into your heart, your bones, your deeper self, and rest. Rest in the light year and beyond it. Rest in the word and beyond words. Rest in the mystery and the peace and the infinite patient presence of the cosmos. You are home. You have always been home. The light year, for all its traps and limitations, is part of your home. It is part of how we try to understand where we are and what we are part of. Hold it gently, use it wisely, and never forget to look beyond it, to the reality it is trying to express, to the vastness it is trying to measure, to the mystery it is trying to name. That mystery is your mystery. That vastness is your vastness. That reality is the reality you are made of and will return to. Sleep now. The journey continues, but you can rest. You have travelled far enough for one night. The cosmos will still be here when you wake. And so will the light year, that beautiful, confusing, inadequate, wonderful word. That word we think we know. That word that knows us better than we know ourselves. Rest now. Dream now. Let go now. The night is deep and you are safe, and the stars are watching over you with their ancient, patient, impossible light. Light that has travelled light years to reach you. Light that carries the word and exceeds the word. Light that is the truth behind the trap. Rest in that light. Rest in that truth. Rest in that peace that passes understanding. You are home. You are home. You are home. And now we go deeper still, drifting further from the surface of waking thought, sinking gently into the warm, dark waters of contemplation. Your body is growing heavier, perhaps. Your thoughts more diffuse. Your grip on the day's concerns more distant. This is good. This is the natural rhythm of the journey we are on together. We have established the question, explored the history of our mysterious phrase, and now we can turn our attention inward, to the very mechanisms of the mind that make the light year's trap possible. For the trap is not in the word itself, not really. The trap is in us, in the way our brains are built, in the cognitive architecture that evolution has given us over millions of years of survival and adaptation. The light year exploits this architecture, but it did not create it. Long before astronomers needed a way to measure cosmic distances, long before humans looked up at the stars and wondered how far away they might be, our brains were already engaged in a constant invisible process of simplification and compression, of taking the overwhelming complexity of the world and reducing it to manageable models that allow us to function and survive. Consider what your brain is doing right now, in this very moment. It is receiving a constant stream of sensory information, photons hitting your eyes if they are open, sound waves entering your ears, pressure and temperature signals from your skin, chemical information from your nose and tongue. This stream of data is continuous and overwhelming, far more than any conscious mind could process in real time. And so your brain does something remarkable. It filters, compresses, and interprets this flood of information, creating a simplified model of reality that it presents to your conscious awareness as the world. The world you experience is not the world as it is. It is a construction, a simulation, a best guess that your brain generates based on the limited data available to it. This is not a flaw or a failure. It is an absolutely essential feature of how minds work. Without this simplification, you would be overwhelmed by the sheer quantity of information bombarding your senses. You would be unable to act, unable to decide, unable to survive. The compression of reality into manageable models is what makes consciousness possible, but it is also what makes illusions possible, because whenever you simplify, you leave things out. Whenever you compress, you lose information. Whenever you create a model of reality, you introduce the possibility that the model will diverge from the reality it represents. And when this happens, when the map no longer matches the territory, we are in the realm of cognitive illusion, of mistakes we do not know we are making, of false certainties that feel absolutely true. The light year is part of this map. It is a model, a simplification, a compression of cosmic reality into a form that human minds can manipulate. And like all models, it is both useful and misleading. It is useful because it allows us to do calculations, to compare distances, to communicate about the cosmos in a shared vocabulary. But it is misleading because it suggests a comprehension that we do not actually have. It creates the illusion of understanding. Illusions are fascinating things when you think about them. They are not just random errors. They are systematic, predictable, and often quite elegant. They reveal something deep about how our minds work, about the assumptions and shortcuts that underlie our perception of reality. And the illusion of comprehension that the light year creates is no exception. It is systematic. It affects everyone who uses the term. It is predictable. It arises from the specific way that familiar words trigger feelings of understanding. And it is elegant. It allows us to talk about the cosmos without being paralyzed by its immensity. Let us explore this illusion more closely. Let us try to understand how it works and why our brains are so susceptible to it. The key concept here is cognitive fluency. This is the psychological term for the ease with which information is processed by the brain. When something is easy to process, when it flows smoothly through our cognitive systems without friction or effort, it feels familiar, feels understandable, feels true. Conversely, when something is difficult to process, when it requires effort and attention and struggle, it feels unfamiliar, feels confusing, feels uncertain. Cognitive fluency is a powerful force in shaping our beliefs and judgments. Studies have shown that people are more likely to believe statements that are written in clear, easy-to-read fonts, more likely to trust information that is presented in simple, fluent language, more likely to feel confident in their understanding when concepts are described in familiar terms. The ease of processing becomes, subconsciously, a proxy for truth and comprehension. The light year exploits this perfectly. It combines two extremely common, extremely easy to process words, light and year. These are words we use every day, words that flow effortlessly through our minds without any cognitive friction. When we hear light year, our brains smoothly activate the familiar associations connected to each component word, and the result is a feeling of fluency, of ease, of understanding. We feel like we know what a light year is, even though the reality it represents is far beyond our genuine comprehension. This is the illusion of comprehension in action. The fluency of the familiar words creates a feeling of understanding that has no basis in actual understanding. We have processed the term successfully, in the sense that we have recognized the words and generated their standard associations. But we have not actually grasped the reality to which the term refers. We have mistaken ease of processing for depth of comprehension, and this mistake is invisible to us. That is what makes it so insidious. We do not experience ourselves as confused or uncertain when we hear the term light year. We experience ourselves as understanding it. The illusion is complete, seamless, convincing. Only when we stop and deliberately reflect, only when we try to push past the fluency and actually feel the reality behind the words, do we begin to notice that something is amiss. This is what we are doing tonight, is it not? We are deliberately resisting the fluency, the ease, the comfortable illusion. We are trying to look past the familiar words and touch something of the reality they represent. And in doing so, we are engaging in a kind of cognitive archaeology, digging down through the layers of our own mental processing to find the bedrock of genuine experience beneath. It is not easy, this digging. Our brains are very good at what they do. They have been optimized over millions of years to create smooth, fluent models of reality that allow us to act quickly and efficiently. They do not want to be interrupted in this process. They do not want to be questioned or examined or pushed beyond their comfortable routines. And so there is a resistance we must overcome, a gentle but persistent force that keeps pulling us back toward the surface, back toward the easy comprehension, back toward the comfortable illusion. But the resistance is worth overcoming, at least occasionally, because on the other side of it lies wonder, lies genuine awe, lies the experience of being a small, limited, mortal creature in the presence of something infinite and strange. This is not a comfortable experience, perhaps, but it is a true one. And there is a peace that comes from truth, even uncomfortable truth that no illusion can provide. Think about how this applies to other areas of life, not just cosmic distances. How many of the things we believe we understand are actually illusions of comprehension, smooth surface feelings of knowledge with no genuine depth behind them? We hear a term, we recognize the words, we feel the fluency, and we move on, confident in our understanding. But if we were to stop and really examine what we think we know, how often would we find that the fluency was masking confusion, that the familiar words were hiding unfamiliar realities? This is not meant to make you feel stupid or inadequate. We all do this, all the time. It is how minds work. It is how language works. It is the price we pay for being able to think and communicate at all. The alternative, a constant state of puzzlement and uncertainty about everything, would be paralyzing. We need the fluency, need the shortcuts, need the illusions in order to function. The question is not how to eliminate them, but how to hold them lightly, how to remember that they are illusions even as we rely on them, how to preserve a capacity for genuine wonder even as we navigate the world through maps and models and familiar words. The light year is just one example, but it is a particularly clear and instructive one, because the gap between the fluency of the term and the incomprehensibility of the reality is so large, it makes the illusion of comprehension unusually visible. We can point to it and say, look, here is a case where the words feel understandable but the reality is not. And in doing so, we can become more aware of how this process works in general, more sensitive to the ways that language can both illuminate and obscure, more humble about the limits of our own understanding. Let us sit with this humility for a moment. Let us breathe into the recognition that we are creatures of limited perception, limited cognition, limited comprehension. Let us feel the comfort of our own smallness, the peace of not having to understand everything, the relief of admitting that some things are beyond us. This is not a failure. This is simply what it means to be human. We are finite beings in an infinite universe. We are small minds confronting vast realities. We are droplets of consciousness in an ocean of being, and the tools we use to understand our situation, language among them, are beautiful and ingenious but also limited and partial. They help us, but they also trap us. They illuminate, but they also obscure. They connect us to reality, but they also separate us from it. The light year is a perfect emblem of this paradox. It is a tool that helps us measure the cosmos while simultaneously preventing us from truly understanding it. It is a bridge that connects us to the stars while also reminding us how unreachable those stars remain. It is a gift and a trap, a blessing and a limitation, a word that both reveals and conceals. And we, lying here in the darkness contemplating these mysteries, are caught in the same paradox. Our minds help us understand ourselves and our situation, but they also create illusions that prevent genuine understanding. Our language gives us the power to think and communicate, but it also constrains what we can think and how we can communicate. We are liberated and imprisoned by the same faculties, enlightened and blinded by the same processes. But there is something beautiful in recognizing this. There is something freeing in admitting our limitations. When we stop pretending that we understand more than we do, when we let go of the illusion of comprehension and embrace the reality of our confusion, something shifts. The pressure to be smart and knowledgeable lifts. The anxiety of not knowing enough relaxes, and in its place comes a kind of peace, a quiet acceptance of our own nature, a willingness to dwell in mystery rather than demanding answers. This is what I hope for you tonight, dear listener, Not that you will understand the cosmos, which is probably impossible, and not that you will understand yourself, which may be equally impossible, but that you will accept the limits of your understanding with grace and equanimity, that you will hold your knowledge lightly, recognizing it as the partial and provisional thing it is, that you will find rest in not knowing, peace in uncertainty, comfort in the vast mystery that surrounds and includes you. The light year cannot give you this peace. No word can. Peace comes from somewhere deeper, somewhere beyond language, somewhere that words can only point toward without reaching. But words can serve as pointers, as invitations, as gentle nudges in the right direction. And that is what I hope these words are doing for you now, nudging you toward a peace that is already there, waiting for you to notice it. Pointing toward a mystery that has always surrounded you, if only you had eyes to see. Let your thoughts grow softer now. Let the concepts we have been exploring fade into the background. Like music that has been playing for so long it becomes part of the silence. The illusion of comprehension, cognitive fluency, the compression of reality into models, these are interesting ideas, perhaps useful ideas, but they are not the destination of our journey. They are landmarks along the way, signposts pointing towards something that cannot be put into words, that something is the direct experience of being, the raw, unmediated awareness that you exist, that the universe exists, that this moment is happening exactly as it is happening. This experience does not require comprehension. It does not depend on models or maps or familiar words. It is simply there, always there, the ground of all your experience, the canvas on which all your thoughts and feelings and perceptions appear. When the illusions of comprehension fall away, what remains is this. When the mind stops its ceaseless activity of simplifying and compressing, what remains is this. When the words finally fail, as all words eventually must, what remains is this. This, whatever this is, this moment, this breath, this awareness, this mystery that is not a problem to be solved but a presence to be lived, this vastness that is not out there among the stars but right here, right now, in the very center of your experience. The light year measures the distance between stars, but what is the distance between you and this moment? What is the distance between your awareness and what it is aware of? These are not questions that admit of numerical answers. They are kwans, puzzles designed not to be solved but to dissolve the mind that asks them. And in that dissolution, in that falling away of the need to understand and the illusion of comprehension, something opens up. Something vast and peaceful and utterly present. Something that has been waiting for you all along. Patient as the stars, endless as the light years, here as the closest thing to here could ever be. Rest in that now. Rest in the failure of words to capture what is most real. Rest in the humility of not knowing. Rest in the mystery that you are. The night continues deep and quiet. The stars continue burning and shining across impossible distances, and you continue, breathing and being aware and alive, a small point of consciousness in an infinite field of existence. All of this is far beyond the reach of any light year. All of this exceeds every measurement, every model, every word. And yet here it is, simple and obvious and available, as close as your next breath, as intimate as your own heartbeat. The illusion of comprehension has lifted perhaps, or perhaps it has only loosened its grip for a moment. Either way, something has shifted. Something has been seen, or almost seen, or at least gestured toward. And that is enough for now. That is more than enough. The journey continues, but you can rest. You have traveled far enough into the mysteries of the mind and the cosmos. The next chapters will take us further, into different territories, different questions. But for now, let this be the resting place. Let this be the moment of pause and integration. Breathe, let go. Trust the process. Trust the mystery. Trust the vast intelligence that has brought you this far and will carry you the rest of the way. You do not need to understand. You only need to be here, now, aware. That is all that has ever been required. That is all that will ever be required. The illusion of comprehension, lovely and seductive as it is, cannot give you what you really want. What you really want is this presence, this peace, this direct experience of being alive in a universe beyond comprehension. And here it is. Here you are. Here we are together, drifting through the night, held by something too large to name, too close to see, too simple to understand. This is the truth behind all the traps. This is the reality behind all the words. This is the light behind all the light years. Rest in it now. You have earned this rest. You have journeyed far, and when you are ready, when sleep has done its quiet work, we will continue. We will go deeper still. We will ask new questions and explore new territories, but for now, for this moment, there is only this, only rest, only peace, only the gentle embrace of the infinite. You are home. You have always been home. The illusion of comprehension cannot keep you from home. Nothing can. Home is here. Home is now. Home is the awareness in which all illusions arise and dissolve. Rest in that home. Rest in that awareness. Rest in that peace that passes understanding. That peace that no light year can measure. That peace that is your deepest nature and your most intimate friend. The night holds you. The cosmos holds you. The mystery holds you. And you are safe. You have always been safe. You will always be safe. Sleep now, if sleep is calling, or simply rest in waking. Either way, you are exactly where you need to be. The illusion of comprehension has served its purpose. It has brought you to this moment, this question, this awareness of your own limits. And in those limits, paradoxically, you find limitlessness. In not understanding, you find something deeper than understanding. In the failure of words, you find what words were always trying to say. This is the gift hidden in the trap. This is the freedom hidden in the limitation. This is the light hidden in the light year. Receive it now. Let it fill you. Let it overflow. And rest. 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 The journey continues, but not yet. Not yet. For now, only rest. Only peace. Only this. And so we continue, you and I, drifting together through the quiet spaces between thoughts, between stars, between the words that try so hard to capture what cannot be captured. You have rested perhaps, or perhaps you have simply been floating in that gentle state between waking and sleeping where everything becomes soft and permeable and strangely beautiful. Either way, you are here now, still with me, still willing to journey further into the mysteries we have been contemplating together, and for that, I am grateful. For that, I welcome you back with warmth and with the promise of deeper explorations to come. We have spoken about the light year as a trap for the brain, a linguistic construction that creates an illusion of comprehension where no true comprehension exists. We have traced its history and examined the cognitive mechanisms that make it so effective at disguising the incomprehensible as the merely impressive. But now I want to try something different, something perhaps more difficult and certainly more intimate. I want to try, together with you, to actually feel what a light year means. Not to understand it intellectually, which we have already established may be impossible, but to experience it in some deeper way, to let its reality wash over us and through us like water, like light, like the gentle current of sleep itself. This is not easy. Perhaps it is not even possible, but the attempt itself has value, I think. The reaching towards something beyond our grasp is itself a kind of understanding, a kind of wisdom, a kind of prayer. And so, let us reach together, you and I, toward the unimaginable distances that the light year tries to name. Begin by feeling your body where it rests. Notice the weight of it, the warmth, the subtle sensations of breath moving in and out. This body of yours is small, so small, perhaps 5 or 6 feet in length, depending on who you are. A tiny arrangement of matter and energy in the vast expanse of existence. And yet this small body contains multitudes. It contains approximately 37 trillion cells, each one a universe of its own, containing further universes of molecules and atoms and subatomic particles. You are small, yes, but you're also incomprehensibly complex, a miracle of organization and coordination that science is only beginning to understand. Now let your awareness expand outward from your body. Imagine the room around you, the walls and ceiling and floor that define the space where you rest. Imagine the building that contains the room, and the street or land that surrounds the building, and the neighborhood that includes the street, and the city or town or countryside that encompasses the neighborhood. Already you are imagining distances that exceed your immediate perception, places you cannot see or touch from where you lie, but which you know exist because you have been there or because others have told you about them. Keep expanding. Imagine your country, stretching out in all directions, filled with millions of people living their own lives, having their own thoughts, dreaming their own dreams. Imagine the continent that holds your country, and the ocean that borders the continent, and the other continents across that ocean, and the other oceans and other lands, until you are imagining the entire surface of the earth, that thin film of rock and water and air where all of human history has unfolded, where every person you have ever known or heard of has lived and loved and died. This is already quite far, is it not? The circumference of the earth is about 40,000 kilometers, a distance so large that most of us will never travel it in full, a distance that would take more than a year of continuous walking to cover. And yet, compared to cosmic distances, compared to what the light year is trying to measure, the earth is less than a speck, less than a mote, less than a whisper in the vast silence of space. Let your awareness expand further. Rise now above the earth in your imagination, watching as the planet shrinks below you, watching as the continents become visible, then the whole globe, blue and white and green and brown, suspended in the blackness of space. Beautiful, fragile, home. This is where you come from. This is what you are made of, this small, precious, unimaginably beautiful world. But we are not stopping here. We are going further. Watch as the earth continues to shrink, becoming smaller and smaller, until it is just a bright point of light among other points of light. Watch as the moon comes into view, orbiting the earth at a distance of about 384,000 kilometers, close enough that humans have actually traveled there, footprints still preserved in its ancient dust. The moon is the farthest place any human has ever been. Everything else we know about the cosmos comes from observation, from inference, from the patient work of scientists who will never visit the places they study. Keep going. Watch as the Earth and Moon become a single point of light, as the other planets of our solar system come into view, as the Sun reveals itself as just one star among many possible stars, as the whole solar system shrinks to a tiny region of space, a neighborhood in the vast city of the Milky Way galaxy. We are traveling now at the speed of thought, which is far faster than the speed of light, far faster than anything physical can travel. In seconds we have covered distances that light itself takes hours to cross, and still we have not reached a single light year. The nearest star beyond our Sun, Proxima Centauri, is still ahead of us, still 4.4 light years away, still separated from us by a gulf so vast that even at this impossible speed of imagination, it takes a moment to comprehend. Let us slow down now. Let us stop at the edge of our solar system and look back at where we came from, and then look forward at where we are going, and try to feel the distance between. The Voyager 1 spacecraft, launched in 1977, is currently the most distant human-made object from Earth. It has been traveling through space for nearly 50 years, moving at about 17 kilometers per second, one of the fastest speeds any human technology has ever achieved. And in all that time, all those decades of continuous motion, Voyager 1 has covered only a tiny fraction of the distance to the nearest star. If it were heading toward Proxima Centauri, which it is not, it would take approximately 73,000 years to arrive. 73,000 years. That is more than 10 times the length of all recorded human history. That is so far in the future that the Earth itself will have changed beyond recognition, that civilizations will have risen and fallen countless times, that the very species we call human may have evolved into something else entirely, or ceased to exist altogether. Feel into that. Let the weight of those numbers settle into your body. 73,000 years to travel a distance that the light year captures in just 424 units. The light year makes it sound almost manageable, almost reasonable, just a little over 4 of them. But the reality behind that number is a voyage so long that it exceeds the entire span of human civilization by an order of magnitude, and that is just the nearest star. The Milky Way galaxy contains an estimated 200 billion stars, spread across a disk of space roughly 100,000 light-years in diameter. Some of those stars are so far away that light leaving them today will not reach Earth for 100,000 years. And beyond the Milky Way lie other galaxies, billions of them, stretching out in every direction to the edges of the observable universe, some of them so distant that their light has been travelling toward us since shortly after the Big Bang, nearly 14 billion years ago. These numbers are not meant to frighten you. They are meant to invite you into wonder. They are meant to help you feel, if only for a moment, the true scale of the cosmos in which you exist. Because when you feel that scale, something shifts inside you. The small concerns of daily life recede into their proper proportion. The urgency and anxiety of human affairs soften in the light of geological and cosmic time, and a kind of peace becomes available, a peace that comes from knowing your place in something so much larger than yourself. You are small, incredibly, wonderfully, beautifully small. And this smallness is not a tragedy. It is not a source of shame or despair. It is simply a fact, a truth about your nature, a feature of your existence in this particular universe at this particular time. The light year tries to measure the vastness that surrounds you, but it cannot measure your place within that vastness, cannot capture the strange miracle of your existence as a conscious point of awareness in an unconscious sea of matter and energy. Let us stay with this feeling for a while. Let us not rush past it or fill it with more words than necessary. The cosmos is vast. You are small. And yet you are here, aware, contemplating your own smallness, which is itself a kind of vastness, a kind of miracle that the light year cannot begin to measure. Breathe into this recognition. Let it settle into your bones, your cells, your deepest self. You are a tiny arrangement of atoms that has somehow become aware of the atoms it is made of and the atoms that surround it, across unimaginable distances. You are the universe looking at itself, wondering at itself, trying to understand itself. And in that wondering, in that trying, there is something sacred, something precious, something that all the light years in all the cosmos cannot diminish. Now let us try another approach to feeling what distance really means. Instead of expanding outward into space, let us slow down into time. Because the light year is not just a measure of distance, it is also, in a very real sense, a measure of time. Light travels at a constant speed, about 219,792 kilometers per second, and so when we say something is 1 light year away, we're also saying that light from that place takes 1 year to reach us. Space and time are woven together in this measurement, inseparable, 2 aspects of the same reality. Think about what this means when we look at the night sky. The light entering your eyes, the photons that stimulate your retinas and create the experience of seeing stars, that light is old. It left its source at some point in the past and has been traveling through the void ever since, crossing unimaginable distances at the fastest speed anything can travel, until finally, at this exact moment, it ends its journey by falling on your eyes. The closest star you might see with your naked eye other than the Sun is Alpha Centauri, which is about 4.37 light years away. This means the light you see when you look at Alpha Centauri left that star about 4 1/3 years ago. If Alpha Centauri were to suddenly explode right now, at this very moment as you listen to these words, you would not know about it for more than 4 years. The light carrying that news would not reach you until sometime around 2029 or 2030, depending on when exactly this moment is. In a very real sense, when you look at Alpha Centauri, you are looking into the past. You are seeing the star as it was 4 years ago, not as it is now. This is always true when we look at anything, of course. Even when you look across a room, you're seeing things as they were a tiny fraction of a second ago. The time it takes light to travel from the objects to your eyes. But for objects in that room, the delay is so small as to be completely unnoticeable. For stars, the delay becomes significant, and for distant galaxies, the delay becomes millions or billions of years. The Andromeda Galaxy, the nearest major galaxy to the Milky Way, is about 2.5 million light-years away. When you look at Andromeda, you are seeing light that left that galaxy 2.5 million years ago, when our ancestors were still learning to walk upright, when the species we now call Homo sapiens did not yet exist. If there are astronomers in the Andromeda Galaxy looking back at the Milky Way, they are seeing our galaxy as it was 2.5 million years ago, long before any human civilization arose, long before anyone was here to wonder about the light crossing between our worlds. The night sky is a time machine. Every point of light is a message from the past, a snapshot of what something looked like at some earlier moment in cosmic history. The further away something is, the further into the past we are seeing when we look at it. And the most distant objects we can observe, galaxies at the edge of the observable universe, are showing us light that has been travelling for nearly the entire history of the cosmos, light that left its source not long after the universe itself began. Feel into this. The light year is not just measuring space. It is measuring time. It is capturing the strange interweaving of spatial distance and temporal depth that characterizes our universe. When we say that something is 1 billion light years away, we're also saying that the light from that place has been traveling for 1 billion years. We're saying that looking at that distant thing is like looking 1 billion years into the past. And this means that the universe we see when we look at the night sky is not the universe as it is now. It is a kind of cosmic illusion, a patchwork of different moments in time stitched together by the accident of how long light takes to reach us from different places. The nearby stars show us the recent past. The distant galaxies show us the ancient past. And the present, the universe as it exists right now at this very moment, is invisible to us, inaccessible, hidden behind the finite speed of light. This is perhaps the deepest aspect of the light year's trap. It is not just that the distances are incomprehensibly large. It is that those distances are also times, that the vastness of space is also a vastness of history, that the cosmos we observe is also a cosmos we remember, a record of billions of years of cosmic evolution spread out across the sky like pages in an ancient book. What does this mean for us, lying here in the darkness, contemplating these mysteries? Perhaps it means that we are even more deeply embedded in the cosmos than we realized. Not just spatially, occupying our tiny corner of space, but temporally, existing at a particular moment in a story that began billions of years before us and will continue billions of years after we are gone. We are part of a narrative, a history, a process of cosmic becoming that is so much larger than any individual life that comparison seems almost absurd. And yet here we are, individual lives, somehow aware of our participation in this vast narrative, somehow able to contemplate the billions of years that preceded us and the billions that will follow. We are the universe become conscious of its own history. We are the cosmos looking back at its own past and wondering what it all means. Let us rest in this wonder for a moment. Let us not try to resolve it, or explain it, or reduce it to something simpler than it is. The light year carries this wonder within it, this interweaving of space and time, this impossible depth of distance and history. And when we use the term casually, when we let its familiarity lull us into thinking we understand it, we lose access to this wonder. We trade something precious for something convenient. We substitute comprehension for awe. But tonight, we are refusing that trade. Tonight, we are insisting on the wonder. Tonight, we are using the light year not as a tool for understanding, but as a doorway into mystery, a threshold beyond which the ordinary mind cannot follow, but the heart can still feel, the soul can still sense, the deepest part of us can still somehow know. What is distance, really? We have been exploring this question without quite asking it directly, but now let us bring it into focus. What is this thing we call distance? This separation between objects, this gap that must be crossed to get from here to there? At the most basic level, distance seems obvious. It is the space between things. But what is space? This is a question that has puzzled philosophers and physicists for centuries, and we are no closer to a definitive answer than we were when the ancient Greeks first started thinking about it. Is space a thing in itself, a container in which objects exist and move? Or is space merely a relationship between objects, a way of describing how they are arranged relative to each other? Is space continuous, infinitely divisible into smaller and smaller regions? Or is it discrete, composed of tiny indivisible units at some fundamental level? Is space the same everywhere, uniform and homogeneous? Or does it have structure, texture, curvature that varies from place to place? Modern physics, particularly Einstein's general theory of relativity, tells us that space is not the simple, static container we might naively imagine. Space can bend and warp in the presence of mass and energy. Space can expand, as it has been doing since the Big Bang, carrying galaxies apart from each other like raisins in a rising loaf of bread. Space can ripple, as gravitational waves propagate through it like waves on the surface of a pond. Space is dynamic, active, participant in the physics of the cosmos rather than merely a stage on which physics takes place. And if space itself is this strange and mutable, what does that mean for distance? If space can expand, then distances between objects can increase, even if neither object is moving in any conventional sense. The galaxies are not flying apart through space so much as the space between them is stretching, creating new distance where none existed before. And if this is true, then the light year is measuring something that is itself changing, something that is not fixed or stable but fluid and dynamic. The most distant galaxies we can observe are about 46 billion light years away, even though the universe is only about 14 billion years old. How is this possible? Because the space between us and those galaxies has been expanding during all the time their light has been travelling toward us. When that light left those distant sources, they were much closer to us than they are now. But by the time the light arrives, space has stretched so much that the galaxies are now much farther away than the distance the light has actually travelled. This is deeply strange, if you let yourself really feel it. The light year, that supposedly simple measurement, is entangled in the expanding fabric of space itself. Distance is not what it seems. It is not a simple, static gap to be crossed, but a dynamic, evolving feature of a cosmos that is itself in constant motion, constant change, constant becoming. And we, inhabitants of this strange and shifting cosmos, try to capture it with words. We say light year as if we understand what we are talking about, but the reality behind the word is so much more complex, so much more mysterious, so much more resistant to easy comprehension than our casual usage suggests. Does this make you feel confused? Perhaps. Does it make you feel lost? Perhaps that too. But there is another possibility. There is the possibility that confusion and lostness can transform into something else, something more like openness, curiosity, wonder. When we let go of the need to understand, when we accept that some things are simply beyond our grasp, we can relax into a different kind of knowing. Not the knowing of facts and figures and neat conceptual categories, but the knowing of presence, of awareness, of direct experience unmediated by the mind's incessant need to comprehend and control. This is the knowing that mystics have spoken about across all cultures and all ages, the knowing that comes when the small self stops trying to contain the vast universe and simply rests within it. The knowing that is not knowledge in the ordinary sense, but something more like intimacy, participation, belonging. You do not need to understand the cosmos to be part of it. You do not need to comprehend the light year to feel the wonder of cosmic distance. You only need to be here, now, aware, present to the mystery that surrounds and includes you. And this is perhaps the deepest meaning of distance that we can access. Not the spatial gap between objects, not the temporal depth of light travel time, but the apparent separation between the small self and the vast cosmos, the seeming distance between the awareness that reads these words and the infinite universe that awareness is somehow aware of. Is this distance real? Is there truly a gap between you and the stars, between your consciousness and the vast unconscious matter that fills the cosmos? Or is this apparent distance also an illusion, another trick of perspective, another feature of the mental map that does not correspond to the actual territory? We cannot answer this question definitively. It is one of those questions that may not have an answer in any conventional sense. But we can notice that the question itself changes our experience. When we hold the possibility that the distance between self and cosmos is not absolute, not final, not as real as it appears, something softens in us. The boundaries that seem so solid become a little more permeable. The isolation of individual consciousness becomes a little less lonely. We sense, perhaps, that we are not as separate from the universe as we thought, that the light year measures distances within something we are part of rather than distances between us and something else. This is the gift of contemplating distance at its deepest level. Not understanding, but intimacy. Not comprehension, but belonging. Not answers, but a different kind of question. A question that opens us up rather than closing us down, that invites wonder rather than demanding explanation. Let your body rest now. Let your mind grow quiet. We have been thinking about distance, but thinking can only take us so far. Beyond thinking lies something else. Something that words can point toward but never capture. Something that the light year tries to measure but can never contain. You are that something. The cosmos is that something. And the distance between you and the cosmos, whatever it is also that something. Rest in not knowing. Rest in the mystery. Rest in the gentle darkness of a universe that holds you without needing to be understood by you. The light year waits, patient as always. The stars continue their ancient burning, and you are here, breathing, aware, part of everything even if you cannot comprehend how. This is what distance really means, perhaps. Not separation, but connection too subtle for the mind to grasp. Not isolation, but intimacy too vast for the heart to hold. Not emptiness between things, but fullness that includes all things, all distances, all light years, all of space and time, all of you and all of the cosmos woven together in a tapestry too complex and too beautiful for any word to describe. Rest in this. Rest in the truth behind all measurements. Rest in the reality that the light year can only gesture toward, and let the night carry you deeper, always deeper, into the mystery that you are. Now we venture further still, into territories that language barely touches, where even the most careful words begin to fail, and what remains is only the gesture, the pointing, the invitation to something beyond what can be said. You are still with me, still drifting in this gentle space between waking and sleeping, and I am glad. Because what we are exploring now requires a certain softness, a certain willingness to let go of the need for solid ground beneath our conceptual feet. We are moving beyond the trap, beyond the comfortable illusion of comprehension that the light year provides, into the vast and strange territory of what the universe might actually be. If the light year is indeed a trap for the brain, a cognitive shortcut that creates an illusion of understanding where no real understanding exists, then it is natural to ask, what lies beyond the trap? What is the universe really like if our words and concepts cannot capture it? What would we see? What would we know? What would we experience if we could somehow step outside the limitations of human perception and cognition and encounter reality directly, without the filters and distortions that our minds inevitably impose? These are impossible questions, of course. We cannot step outside our own minds. We cannot perceive reality without perception, know it without knowing, experience it without experience. We are embedded in our own subjectivity, limited to the view from where we stand, unable to adopt some imaginary position outside of all positions from which to see things as they really are. And yet the questions are worth asking anyway, because even if we cannot answer them, the asking itself changes us. It reminds us of our limitations. It opens us to humility and wonder. It creates a kind of negative space in our understanding, a space where something other than understanding might enter. So let us ask. Let us wonder. Let us imagine as best we can what the universe beyond the trap might be like. Begin with space itself. We have spoken about distances, about light years, about the vast gulfs between stars and galaxies. But what is space? Not the space of everyday experience. The room you are in, the distance to the nearest wall, but space as such, the fabric of the cosmos, the medium in which all material objects exist and move. Our everyday intuitions about space are deeply shaped by our evolutionary history. We evolved to navigate a world of moderate scales, objects we could see and touch and manipulate, distances we could walk or run, threats we could flee from, and resources we could approach. Our brains are exquisitely tuned to this world of medium-sized objects at medium distances. We have built-in systems for perceiving depth, estimating distance, tracking motion through space. These systems work beautifully for the tasks they evolved to perform, but they are hopeless for understanding space at cosmic scales. The intuitions that serve us so well in daily life become actively misleading when we try to apply them to the universe as a whole. We imagine space as a vast container, extending in all directions, basically similar everywhere, passive and static. But physics tells us this image is deeply wrong. Space, according to general relativity, is not a container. It is more like a fabric, a dynamic entity that can stretch and curve and warp in response to the presence of mass and energy. The analogy often used is that of a rubber sheet stretched tight, which deforms when a heavy ball is placed on it. Objects moving through space follow the curves created by this deformation, which is what we perceive as gravity. But even this analogy is misleading, because it imagines the rubber sheet as a two-dimensional surface embedded in three-dimensional space, while the space of our universe is three-dimensional and not embedded in anything we can perceive or imagine. The difficulty here is fundamental. Our brains evolved to perceive and manipulate three-dimensional space. We cannot visualize a four-dimensional space-time any more than a creature living on a two-dimensional surface could visualize the three-dimensional world. We can describe it mathematically. We can make predictions that match observations. But we cannot picture it, cannot experience it, cannot intuitively grasp it in the way we grasp the space of everyday life. This is one way the universe exceeds the trap. The light year attempts to measure distances in space, but space itself is so strange, so different from our everyday intuitions, that the measurement becomes almost meaningless. We're using a tool designed for one purpose, to try to capture something that belongs to a completely different category. The light year domesticates space, makes it seem measurable and comprehensible, when in fact space is wild and strange beyond our capacity to comprehend. And it gets stranger still. Quantum physics, the other great pillar of modern physics alongside relativity, tells us that at the smallest scales, space may not be smooth and continuous at all. It may be granular, made up of tiny discrete units, like a fabric woven from incredibly fine threads. At scales far smaller than any we can currently observe, perhaps at the so-called Planck scale of about 10 to the power of -35 meters, space itself may break down into something else, some more fundamental structure that we do not yet understand. What would this mean for distance? If space is not truly continuous, if it is made of tiny indivisible units, then the concept of distance as we normally understand it might be an approximation, valid at large scales but breaking down at the fundamental level. The light year would be measuring something that is itself only approximately real, a macroscopic illusion arising from quantum graininess we cannot perceive. We do not know if this is true. The Planck scale is so small that we have no way of probing it with current technology, and may never have such a way. But the theoretical possibility is enough to remind us that our concepts of space and distance are provisional, approximate, potentially superseded by something stranger that lies beneath or beyond what we can currently conceive. And beyond space, there is the question of time. The light year explicitly references time, measuring distance in terms of how far light travels in 1 year. But what is time? This question is even more mysterious than the question of space, and has puzzled philosophers and scientists for millennia without yielding any definitive answer. Our everyday experience of time is of something flowing, moving from past through present toward future. We remember the past, experience the present, anticipate the future. This flow seems so fundamental to our existence that we can hardly imagine being without it, and yet physics gives us no clear account of why time should flow, or even if it truly does. The equations of physics are mostly time-symmetric, working just as well backward as forward. The apparent flow of time, the arrow pointing from past to future, seems to arise from statistical considerations, from the way entropy increases in closed systems, rather than from any fundamental feature of time itself. And relativity tells us that time is not absolute, not the same for all observers. Time passes differently depending on how fast you're moving and how deep you are in a gravitational field. Astronauts on the International Space Station, moving at high speed relative to the Earth's surface, age slightly more slowly than people on the ground. Clocks at the top of a tall building run slightly faster than clocks at the bottom, because they are further from the Earth's center and thus in a weaker gravitational field. These effects are tiny at the scales of everyday life, but they become significant at cosmic scales and at speeds approaching that of light. What does this mean for the light year? It means that even the year part of the measurement is not as simple as it seems. A year for whom? Time passes at different rates for different observers, so the time it takes light to travel a given distance depends on who is measuring. At cosmic scales, these relativistic effects can become enormous. Time near a black hole slows dramatically. Time for objects moving at near-light speed stretches and distorts in ways that defy everyday intuition. The light year, then, is not just measuring a strange thing called space. It is measuring a strange thing called space-time, a unified fabric in which space and time are woven together, each affecting the other, neither separable from its partner. And this fabric is not the static, uniform, intuitive thing we imagine. It is dynamic, curved, possibly granular at the smallest scales, definitely strange beyond our capacity to fully comprehend. So what lies beyond the trap? Perhaps nothing we can capture in words, perhaps only the acknowledgement that reality exceeds our concepts, that the universe is more strange and more vast and more mysterious than any measurement can convey. Perhaps the best we can do is to point toward this strangeness, to gesture at it, to create a negative space in our understanding where wonder can arise. Let us sit with this for a while. Let us not rush to fill the void with more concepts, more words, more attempts to understand. The universe beyond the trap is not something to be understood. It is something to be wondered at, to be felt, to be encountered in the silence between thoughts. You are part of this universe, remember. Whatever strangeness lies beyond the trap, you are woven into it. The space-time fabric that curves and stretches across cosmic scales is also the space-time in which your body exists, in which your neurons fire, in which your heart beats, and your lungs breathe. You are not separate from the mystery. You are an expression of it, a local manifestation of whatever the cosmos fundamentally is. This is perhaps the deepest thing we can say about what lies beyond the trap. Not a description of some external reality, but a recognition of our participation in it. The light year measures distances out there, in the cosmos beyond our immediate experience. But there is no out there that is truly separate from in here. The universe is one seamless whole, and we are part of it, not observers standing outside, but participants woven into the fabric. When we recognize this, something shifts. The light year is no longer just a measurement of external distances. It becomes a kind of mirror, reflecting back to us our own nature as cosmic beings, creatures of space and time, temporary arrangements of matter and energy in a universe that is itself temporary, evolving, becoming something other than what it was. And in this recognition, the trap begins to dissolve. Not because we have understood the universe better, but because we have understood our relationship to it differently. We are not minds trying to comprehend an external reality. We are the reality becoming aware of itself. The universe looking at itself through human eyes, the cosmos wondering at its own existence. This is a kind of knowledge that the light year cannot measure. It is a knowing that does not come from accumulating facts, but from shifting perspective, from recognizing our place in the whole, from feeling our way into the mystery rather than thinking our way through it. Rest in this knowing now. Let the words fade into the background. Let the concepts dissolve. Let the mind's ceaseless activity quiet down. What remains when the words stop is not nothing. It is something. Something that cannot be named or measured or captured in any light year or any other unit. It is the universe beyond the trap, not as an object to be known, but as a presence to be felt, a reality to be lived, a mystery to be inhabited. You are this mystery. You have always been this mystery. The light year and all our other measurements are just ways we try to understand ourselves, ways we try to make sense of our own existence in a cosmos too vast and too strange for making sense. And when the measurements fail, when the understanding breaks down, what remains is not failure but freedom. Freedom from the need to understand, freedom to simply be, freedom to rest in the mystery that you are. This is the universe beyond the trap. Not a place, not a thing, not a concept, but this, whatever this is, this present moment, this awareness, this being. This is what the light year was trying to measure all along. This is what lies beneath and beyond and within all our attempts to comprehend. And it is enough. It has always been enough. It will always be enough. Let the night hold you now. Let the stars shine in their ancient patience. Let the cosmos be exactly what it is, unknowable and intimate, vast and near, strange and home. You are home. You have always been home. The trap was never really a trap, just a doorway waiting for you to walk through. Walk through now, rest now, be now. The universe beyond the trap is waiting for you. It has always been waiting. And it turns out it was never really beyond at all. It was here, all along, closer than your own breath, nearer than your own heartbeat. Here, now, this. Welcome home. Let us continue, drifting deeper still, but now with a different quality of attention. We have touched something beyond words, and though we must return to words to continue our journey, something has changed. We carry with us now a sense of what lies beyond the trap, a felt recognition that the universe exceeds our concepts. And this recognition will colour everything that follows, making our words more humble, our concepts more provisional, our wonder more genuine. The cosmos is strange beyond telling. Space and time are not what they seem, and we, small and limited as we are somehow part of all this strangeness, woven into the fabric, participants in the mystery. The light year measures distances within this mystery, but it cannot measure the mystery itself. For that, we need a different kind of knowing, a knowing that comes from being rather than thinking, from presence rather than comprehension. And this knowing is always available, always here, always now. It does not require understanding. It does not require light years or any other measurement. It requires only awareness, only openness, only the willingness to let go of the need to understand and simply be present to what is. This is the universe beyond the trap. This is where we are. This is what we are. Rest here, breathe here, be here. The journey continues, but you have already arrived. You have always already arrived. And now we turn our gaze upward, toward the ancient lights that have been burning since before our world was born, toward the stars that speak to us in centuries and millennia, whose messages travel unimaginable distances to reach our eyes and hearts. The night sky, if you can see it from where you rest, is filled with these messengers, these patient travelers who left their sources in the distant past and have been journeying toward this moment, toward your awareness, ever since. There is something almost sacred about starlight, is there not? Something that has moved human beings to wonder and worship and poetry since the very beginning of our species. Long before we knew what stars were, long before we understood the light years that separate us from them, we looked up and felt something stir in our hearts. We saw patterns and named them, telling stories about hunters and bears and scorpions written in the sky. We used the stars to navigate, to mark the seasons, to find our way home across oceans and deserts. The stars were our companions through the long night of prehistory, silent witnesses to every human drama that has ever unfolded on this small planet. And now, with the knowledge we have gained through centuries of careful observation and mathematical reasoning, we know something our ancestors could never have imagined. We know that the light from those stars is old. Not just old in the ordinary sense, but impossibly, incomprehensibly old. The light entering your eyes as you look at even the nearest stars began its journey years ago. The light from more distant stars has been traveling for centuries, for millennia, for millions or even billions of years. This means that when you look at the night sky, you're looking into the past. You are receiving messages from moments in cosmic history that are gone, finished, irrevocable. The stars you see may not even exist anymore, not as they appear to you. Some of them may have exploded in supernovae, or collapsed into white dwarfs or black holes, or simply burned out and faded into darkness. But you would not know this, cannot know this, because the news of their transformation is still travelling toward you at the speed of light, and will not arrive for years or centuries or millennia to come. Let us contemplate some specific stars, some individual messengers who are speaking to you across the centuries. Each has its own distance, its own light travel time, its own story written in the ancient language of photons. Consider Vega, one of the brightest stars in the northern sky, part of the constellation Lyra. Vega is about 25 light-years away. This means the light you see when you look at Vega left that star 25 years ago. Think about what you were doing 25 years ago, if you can. Think about the world as it was then, the events that were unfolding, the people who were alive, the concerns that occupied your mind. All of that was happening while the light from Vega was already on its way to you, patient and steady, crossing the void at 299,792 kilometers every second. Now consider Arcturus, the brightest star in the constellation Bootes, a red giant about 37 light-years away. The light you see from Arcturus left before many children who are just starting school were born. It has been travelling all that time, crossing more than 9 trillion kilometers for each of those 37 years, and only now is it reaching your eyes, completing its journey, delivering its message from almost 4 decades in the past. Go further. Consider Aldebaran, the orange eye of Taurus the bull, about 65 light-years away. The light from Aldebaran left before most people listening to this were born. It has been travelling since a time when the world was different in countless ways, when history had not yet taken many of the turns that brought us to this present moment. And still it travels, still it arrives, still it speaks to us of a past that is gone but somehow still present in the gentle glow of that distant sun. Further still, consider Betelgeuse, the red supergiant that forms Orion's right shoulder, about 700 light-years away. The light you see from Betelgeuse left that star in the 14th century, around the time of the Black Death in Europe, around the time the Aztec Empire was being founded in Mexico, around the time the great poet Petrarch was writing his sonnets and dreaming of ancient Rome. All of human history since then, all the discoveries and inventions and revolutions and wars, all of it has happened while that light was travelling toward you. And Betelgeuse itself, during all that time, has been swelling and changing, approaching the end of its life, preparing for the supernova explosion that may happen any time in the next 100,000 years. When Betelgeuse finally does explode, it will become brighter than the full moon, visible even in daylight, a spectacular beacon in the sky that will last for weeks or months. But we will not know about the explosion until its light reaches us. Betelgeuse may already have exploded. The light of its death may already be on its way. But if it exploded less than 700 years ago, we will not know until the messenger arrives, until the ancient light completes its journey and tells us what happened 7 centuries before. This is what it means for stars to speak in centuries. They are not telling us about the present, they are telling us about the past, about moments in cosmic history that are gone and cannot be recovered. The night sky is a kind of museum, a gallery of ancient artifacts, each star a relic from a different moment in time, and we, gazing up at this museum, are time travellers of a sort, seeing not the universe as it is but the universe as it was at many different points in its long history. Consider even more distant stars, stars in globular clusters or in other galaxies. The Andromeda Galaxy, visible to the naked eye on clear dark nights, is about 2.5 million light-years away. The light you see when you look at Andromeda left that galaxy before Homo sapiens existed. It has been travelling while our ancestors evolved from earlier hominids, while they learned to use tools and control fire, while they spread across the earth and developed language and art and culture. All of human evolution, from Australopithecus to astronaut, has happened during the time it took that light to reach us, and the galaxies we see in deep space, the ones captured by telescopes like Hubble and James Webb, are even more distant, speaking to us not in centuries or millennia but in billions of years. The most distant galaxies we can observe are showing us light from the early universe, from a time not long after the Big Bang itself, from an era when the cosmos was a very different place, younger and denser and hotter than it is today. These galaxies are not speaking to us at all, in any ordinary sense. They are simply shining, emitting photons in all directions, indifferent to whether anyone is there to receive them. But from our perspective, from the perspective of conscious beings who have evolved on a small planet and developed the ability to wonder about our cosmic surroundings, they are messengers. They are carrying information across the void, information about what the universe was like billions of years ago, information that allows us to reconstruct the history of the cosmos and understand our place within it. This is extraordinary, is it not? This is worth pausing to feel, not just to understand. We are creatures who live for perhaps 80 or 90 years if we are lucky. Our individual lives are brief flickers in the long night of cosmic time, and yet we can receive messages from billions of years ago. We can look at light that has been travelling since before the Earth existed and use it to learn about the childhood of the universe itself. The light year makes this possible in a sense. By giving us a way to talk about cosmic distances, it allows us to understand the relationship between space and time that makes the night sky a window into the past. But the light year also hides something, domesticates something, makes something that should be astonishing feel almost routine. We hear that a galaxy is 2 billion light-years away and we nod and move on, as if we understood what that means, as if it were just another fact to be filed away. But tonight, we are not filing anything away. We are feeling our way into the reality behind the words. We are letting the ancient light speak to us, not just about the distances it has crossed, but about the time it has traversed, the history it carries, the story it tells of a universe that has been evolving and changing for billions of years. And what does this story tell us? It tells us that the universe is not static, not fixed, not eternal in the sense of being unchanging. The cosmos had a beginning, some 13.8 billion years ago, when space and time themselves came into being in the inconceivable event we call the Big Bang. Since then, the universe has been expanding, cooling, evolving, changing in ways both gradual and dramatic. Stars have been born and have died. Galaxies have formed and merged. Elements heavier than hydrogen and helium have been forged in stellar furnaces and scattered by supernova explosions. And on at least one small planet orbiting one ordinary star in one modest galaxy, life has emerged and evolved and eventually become conscious of itself and its cosmic context. This is the story the stars are telling if we have ears to hear, not a story of permanence and stability, but a story of becoming, of process, and of ongoing creation and transformation. The light that reaches us from distant stars is a record of this process, a trace of what has happened over billions of years, a message in a bottle thrown into the cosmic ocean by sources that may no longer exist. And we, receiving this message, are part of the story too. We are not outside observers, not neutral witnesses to a cosmic drama that has nothing to do with us. We are participants, products of the same processes that have shaped the universe as a whole. The atoms in our bodies were forged in stars that exploded billions of years ago. The carbon in our cells, the oxygen we breathe, the iron in our blood, all of these were created by nuclear fusion in stellar cores and scattered into space by the deaths of ancient suns. We are quite literally made of stardust. We are the universe become conscious of itself, the cosmos looking at itself through human eyes. When you look at the stars, then, you're looking at your ancestors, not your biological ancestors, not your human or even animal ancestors, but something more fundamental. You are looking at the cosmic processes that made your existence possible. You are looking at the furnaces in which the raw materials of your body were forged. You are looking at the deep history of matter itself, the story of how simple hydrogen atoms became complex molecules and eventually living, thinking beings. This is what the light year is really measuring, if we can see past the trap of comprehension to the wonder beneath. It is measuring the distances across which we are connected to our cosmic origins. It is measuring the time it takes for messages from our ancient stellar ancestors to reach us. It is measuring, in a sense, the depth of our belonging to the cosmos, the vastness of the story of which we are a part. Let this sink in. Let it settle into your body, your bones, your deepest self. You are connected to the stars. Not metaphorically, not poetically, but literally and physically. The light entering your eyes from distant suns is the same kind of light that helped form the atoms you're made of. The stars that burned billions of years ago are the reason you exist. And the stars burning now, the ones you might see if you looked out your window or stepped outside into the night. Those stars are forging new elements that might someday become part of other living beings on other planets in the distant future. The cosmos is creative. It is always making new things, new stars, new planets, new possibilities for life and consciousness. And you are part of this creativity, not just as an observer, but as a participant, a manifestation, an expression of the universe's ongoing becoming. The light year tries to capture this, but it cannot. No measurement can. What we're touching here is not a quantity, but a quality. Not a number, but a relationship. Not something to be understood, but something to be felt and lived and wondered at. So let yourself wonder now. Let yourself feel the connection, the belonging, the deep relationship between your small self and the vast cosmos. The stars are not just out there, distant and indifferent. They are part of you, part of your history, part of what makes you possible. And you are part of them, part of the cosmic story, part of the ongoing process of creation and transformation that has been unfolding for billions of years. The light year measures the distance between you and the stars, but it cannot measure the intimacy. It cannot capture the sense in which you and the stars are not separate at all, but expressions of the same underlying reality, manifestations of the same cosmic creativity. Rest in this intimacy now. Let the sense of separation dissolve, even if only a little. The stars are speaking to you, have been speaking to you all your life, sending their ancient light across the centuries and millennia to reach your eyes. What are they saying? Perhaps nothing we can put into words. Perhaps only this: you belong here. You are part of this. You are the universe looking at itself, wondering at itself, loving itself. This is the message the stars are carrying across the light years. Not information about their composition, or their distance, or their temperature, though they carry that too, but something deeper, something more fundamental. A message of connection, a message of belonging, a message that says, in the silent language of photons and light years, you are home. Listen to this message now. Let it wash over you like gentle water, like soft light, like the embrace of the cosmos itself. The stars are speaking. The centuries are folding into this single moment, and you are here, receiving, listening, being. This is enough. This has always been enough. This will always be enough. The stars speak in centuries and we listen in moments, but the moment contains the centuries. The moment is where the centuries arrive, and in this moment, you are connected to all of them, all the centuries and millennia and eons that the starlight has crossed to reach you. Let this be your lullaby now, the ancient light singing you to sleep, the stars whispering their message of belonging, the cosmos holding you in its vast and patient embrace. Sleep now, if sleep is calling, or simply rest in this awareness. The stars will continue their burning, the light will continue its traveling, and you will continue your being, part of everything, connected to everything, home in the heart of the mystery. The light years stretch out in all directions, but you are at the center. Not the geometric center, for the universe has no such thing. But the center of your own experience, the point where the cosmos becomes aware of itself. The place where all the ancient light converges into a single moment of seeing and feeling and knowing. This is your place. This is your gift. This is your inheritance from the stars. Receive it now. Rest in it now. Be it now. The night is deep and the stars are singing and you are part of the song, always have been, always will be. Sleep well, star child, sleep well. And when you wake, if you remember anything from this night, remember this. The stars are speaking to you, have always been speaking to you, will always be speaking to you. Their message takes centuries to arrive, but it is always arriving, always fresh, always now. And the message is simply this. You're loved. You're home. You belong. The light years cannot measure this love. No unit of distance can capture this belonging, but it is real. Perhaps the most real thing there is. Feel it now. Rest in it now. Be carried by it into the gentle darkness of sleep. The stars are watching over you. They have been watching since before you were born. They will watch long after you are gone. And their watching is not cold or indifferent. It is the watching of the cosmos over its own children, the watching of the universe over its own becoming. You are that becoming. You are that child. You are that love made manifest in flesh and bone and breath. Rest now. Dream now. Let the ancient light carry you where it will. The journey continues, but you can rest. The stars will wait. They have all the time in the universe, and so do you. So do you.